current workplace is usually just a transferring of information from one point to another, while I also translating and giving value to it. And it's become so inefficient in some way that people literally ask other humans to join the company in order to participate in this translation project. So I think generally the future of work is very connected to the problem of how we share the pieces of information around, how we forward them to other companies, how we forward them inside of the teams, how we forward it between manager and employee and back. And there are so many abstractions to information currently that are just so hard to kind of even imagine. You can literally take the job of any person who is running agency, for example, or manager, and often they just take one goal from the company, translate it into something that they first understand, then they ask someone else to do it, and then someone else understands it again, talks either with someone else or the tool, for example, design tool or development tool. They produce some result and then they send it back so that person could present the result back towards and integrate it into the whole system. And it feels like we're still working on this idea of passing the information through some cords to each other, instead of really understanding how can we use the ambient knowledge altogether. And it's very hard to design, by the way, because many companies like Notion and Slack, they try to build ambient knowledge bases. It's like when you in the morning just open an app and you immediately understand what happens with the company. And most of people would say, yes, but that's the dashboard for, or, hey, we just made this activity center with notifications of last thing that you have to read. But it's not actually, it doesn't speak to me in human language. Like, I understand, and I feel like I had the same idea that thing would solve that problem. But when I actually saw the implementation of those quite realistically and well done, interactions and features of how they are being presented, they don't speak to me on the deeper level, like that I know what happens with my business when I close my eyes and I just, think about it. It's just like I'm a better thinker outside of those tools when it comes to my business rather than inside of those tools. And this is weird because those tools have the knowledge, they have the access to information, they have the access to all of the people organizations, they have connected channels between other companies, we have docs, we have thousands of words written by very smart and talented people about topics that we already know about. But having this lightweightness, that you can, just come and kind of understand the information that's happening with your company, or the flow, or the statuses, or if the trends, or how intuitively you think you're going higher or, lower on some cases. It feels like we're getting actually far from that. Like sometimes when I don't participate in everyday communication, or I'm not trying to read all of the documents that were created by my teammates, I sometimes think about business more clearly. And I don't know if I'm broken or the system is broken, but I still feel like we don't capture enough information that is more ambient. For example, people are talking near the water cooler, people are talking through even like Zoom calls and stuff, but also we don't capture the vibe that is happening in the micro interactions, and then the vibe that is like a health check for the whole organization. And to be honest, this is a very hard challenge to tackle. We can't even do it for ourselves, for our own mental capacity. So it requires such a deep self-reflection to understand how well are you doing, or how intuitively well are you feeling about yourself. That doing and applying the same thinking to a group of people, such as organization or company or community, makes it even harder, because we don't only deal with one self-reflection, we deal with self-reflection of each individual, but also of the connections between them. And those connections might be either more complicated than one individual or less complicated. And I don't know what's the right answer here yet. But what strikes me is that probably we have to swallow a couple of really bad pills until we get to that intuitive understanding of information that surrounds us in such scale as it surrounds us today. So some of the ideas that I had is that we would go through some events. For example, we would go through event where we are tracking all of the communication inside of the workplace, including direct messages, including Looms, including some kind of Zoom calls between each other, including comments in Figma, in Google Docs, and everything. And we're going to try to map it onto the whole kind of big area of all information that is happening related to specific actors or people, or something that is happening between different people with vibe and all other different evaluators according to it. But the next step would be actually to look at it and see if we like it, because I believe that once we as humans who are participating in this are going to look at it, we might actually not like what we're going to see. We will see some imperfections, we will see some, hidden toxicity or aggressiveness that we didn't even wanted to share, but we shared it and our language, showcased us, it showed that we actually hold it. But also it's interesting how we are going to react to it in some kind of different ways. And by the way, we don't have to actually treat and kind of track every individual encounter, show them in analytics. We can also kind of, group all of the knowledge between each other, so kind of mash it so to make sure that we're actually, bringing it all together. So for example, we would do something like, hey, your organization or your group was speaking with this tone, or it was sharing the information at this pace, or you messed up and forgot about something particular in your discussion, and so on and so on. And that would unlock some kind of new understanding of how our group communicates, and I probably want everyone to have access to it, so it's not like only the top executives getting the views on how everyone performs. It's going to be shared with everyone, and it's going to be shared on some kind of friendly version of it, and maybe some more raw version where you can actually track what's going right and what's going wrong with your communication inside groups. But then we face a harder question. I think that's not going to solve that initial problem that we're talking to, because that problem requires something even more sophisticated. Like how can we put information around us, not necessarily maybe in digital screens, we can place it in different places, like, projecting something onto the wall. We can place it in different times, for example, morning digest or something during the call, or something like that. Or we can put it in different social situations where we would feel particular thing about about some topics without actually applying logical reasoning always. It would be like something that how we feel. So for example, we feel a certain way about economy without even, stating some particular news that happened today. But we kind of feel how, the money is going around, who is doing what kind of the growth we have as as nations, or particular me personally, without knowing exact number, you kind of know the trend. So having this trend in your organizational knowledge and having this trend connected maybe not to the whole organization, but to some tracks or to some projects or to some challenges or to some ambitions that company has, might be the next interesting step. And to be honest, it's very hard to imagine how we can get to it, because there are so many steps involved into it that we might actually come up with quite bad products first that would inspire us to get to better products then. Because yes, of course, right now it feels like let's just analyze every single message that we have. And I think that might feel already as a small thing that we wouldn't like as a humanity, but with time we will understand and unlock more and more understanding of the sentiments under all the conversation that we're going and bringing up under the one roof. I'm not sure how it's going to happen. I'm not sure if I'm going to be the one who is going to build one of those steps, or someone else, or there may be multiple companies that are going to challenge it. But I deeply believe that in 10 years, in 2034, we will see radically new type of information, mobility, I would say, around the organizations and around people as well. Because right now, coming back to those translation moments, it becomes really one of the pressing concerns for company mobility, because we're already quite fast at thinking. We have really fast computers in some sort, but translating what I felt, what I needed someone else's to do in certain kind of limitations during this context sharing and this intuition of what's right and what's the right appropriate angle to resolve some of the tasks. That's what interesting, and that's what can unlock the next leap of innovation in that case. I hope it makes sense, and let me know if you have any thoughts about it. See ya.